It's streaming.
Cool, I'm just going to play for a while. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday morning. I'm Ted Drozdowski, Senior Editor of Premier Guitar, and this is Road Dog, my monthly yakety yak about my experiences being a touring musician for a bunch of years. Today's topic is road food. This is important. Musicians put a lot of things in their body. The one thing everybody puts in their body is food. So food is incredibly important when you're touring. I think the phrase, be careful out there, is critically important, especially when you're talking about food. One bad egg can really ruin a gig, as I learned one day traveling between Boston and New Haven when I got into a bad egg and probably had to make 12 pit stops on the way and stop in for Imodium and all that terrible stuff. So yeah, we're going to get into sketchology right off the bat, so you know it's going to be good. If you can, when you're out there on the road, I would suggest that you eat healthy at every possible opportunity. You're going to feel better, and you're even going to play better. Most likely, you're going to eat at a fast food place from time to time, maybe a lot. And in those cases, I think the best thing you can do is set a bar and don't drop below it. Decide what kind of fast food you're willing to eat and where you need to make the line. You know, we try to eat like clean when we're on the road. We try to have nicely made fresh sandwiches, not too much fried stuff, maybe a salad, because some fast food joints have gotten into that, you know, and that's really nice. But, you know, if you pick the sleazy stuff, you'll kind of go into this bizarre no man's land where you really don't want to be, you know, because the consequences can be heavy. Although some people embrace them. Like a friend of mine was in a national touring band, national touring blues band, and he told me that he and the bass player had this kind of competition. They would go to a fast food joint, and they would try to order the nastiest stuff, and usually chase that down with 1 or 2 cups of coffee. And they would put money on it, and what they would put money on is who would have to ask for the van to stop so they could use the bathroom first. Now, whoever won that bet, they would have their next fast food, you know, fandango fueled by the bet money. But I think that kind of living has its consequences after a while. However, if you're bored and you need a road game, there's a road game for you. So you can eat the sleaziest, so you have to go to the bathroom first. Yay! Everybody can be a winner. You can find good food in a lot of places where you would think you wouldn't. One day we played this gig in Macon, Georgia. It was kind of in this cool little juke joint place. And then the next day we were rolling on from Macon. I think we were going out to Alabama for a gig somewhere. We're going through this rural section of Georgia. And finally, we're starving. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. We're absolutely starving. All we have simmering in our gut from the night before is a little bit of bourbon and maybe some moonshine and maybe whatever the greasy burger was that we'd had, like, you know, hours and hours and hours ago. Anyway, we're zooming along, and we stop at this sign for a Cracker Barrel. There's a Cracker Barrel, finally. But, you know, we hadn't counted on the fact that there's the church crowd every Sunday. So we get there, and the place is just absolutely packed. The wait is 45 minutes. We can't possibly wait that long. Plus, we have a gig to get to. I think it was in Mississippi, cutting through Alabama. Anyway, we had to get the heck out of there. My drummer, a guy named Matt Snow at the time, he's like, man, I'm just going to look on Yelp. And I'm thinking, we're out in the middle of the woods. There's literally woods on both sides of the highway. There's not going to be anything on Yelp. And he sees a soul food place on Yelp. It's like 10 miles up the road, and it looks like it's right off the exit. So we pull off the exit, and there's a little one-room restaurant there. It's a very nice, clean-looking white place, you know, white-walled exterior place with a nice-looking roof out in the back. There's a pond or a lake stretching out. There's pine trees around. We're like, man, this is kind of cool. There's like 2 or 3 cars there, so we pull in. It's open. We walk in, and we are obviously not locals, so the owner asked us how we found out. We told him we're on Yelp. And they treated us like kings. We ordered the catfish. We got this huge pile of catfish. We got 3 sides. They kept refilling our sweet tea. And they were just the nicest people ever. And we asked them at one point where the catfish, you know, how fresh the catfish was. And the owner said, hey, I just caught it in the pond right behind here this morning. So you can have these amazing experiences. And yeah, the catfish was fried, but it was delicious, fresh, fried catfish, and it was fantastic. So if you're on the road, download Yelp. Yelp is going to be your friend. When you're in doubt about where your next meal is coming from, you should use it. A word about special sauce, lowercase. If it's special sauce or sauce of any kind in a fast food place, I would suggest avoiding it. You don't know what's in special sauce. Secret things could have allergy triggers, that's one reason. And then there are the digestive challenges that can come with special sauce or tartar sauce or any kind of sauce. In the 90s, when I was in this band called Vision Thing out of Boston, we didn't tour too extensively, but toured pretty well and played some really great places like CPGBs and some festivals and stuff. Anyway, we're out on the road pretty often, and we would unfortunately stop at some fast food places because we're kind of limited to that when you're traveling down the big interstates and you don't want to get off. And our guitar player would always order the fish sandwich, and he'd always get it with tartar sauce. And we'd be like, man, don't get the tartar sauce. And he would always get the tartar sauce. He'd come back in the car and we'd be like, man, you ordered the tartar sauce? He goes, yeah, I got the sauce. I have to have the sauce. We're like, man, you should do that. Anyway, within 20 minutes, we'd have to pull the van over because the special tartar sauce would kind of take its own special course through his intestines, and we would have to stop. So you don't want to do that. And if that doesn't happen too, then you have the other thing, which is when the car gets stuffy, if you know what I mean. That was our term for when the car would get stuffy. When people were having digestive issues, and we'd have to roll the windows down and pray for oxygen. You don't want to get into that either. Plus, the other great thing about stopping at a real restaurant like that soul food place, or even a Cracker Barrel, or even a Denny's or something, which has healthy alternatives on the menu. The great thing about stopping at a real restaurant is you actually get out of the van, and getting out of the van and walking around improves your humanity. You get fresh air, you interact with people, you're not just sort of in this, in the rolling baboon cage. So it's a really, really good thing to get out. Does your muscles good, does you good, and you're not just eating crap out of a sack. That's a good thing. And sometimes you make friends at these places. If you stop pretty regularly, you get to know people along the routes where you travel. And sometimes you just hit the jackpot. As a band over the years, in various bands, we've been given a lot of delicious free things by restaurants, plus t-shirts and things, just for being a band and just for being nice and hanging out and stopping there. One of the best examples of that was in the 90s when Vision Thing was on tour through the South for the first time. We played in Oxford, Mississippi, and a couple other places down there. We were coming back up through Memphis, and we all wanted to stop at the Rendezvous Rib Room, which is a very famous rib restaurant in Memphis. A very old school, famous for delicious dry rub ribs. And we walked in there and we're having our ribs. And the waiter at some point, I guess it was because of the way we were dressed or whatever, but he looks at us and goes, "Are you guys a band?" And we're like, "Yeah, we are a band." He goes, "Oh, I love bands." And we started talking about the kind of music we make and stuff. So there was 6 of us in the vehicle at the time, and 6 of us at the table. We all ordered at least a half rack of ribs. We were munching down because we were starving from the night before. And he comes back, and when he gave us the bill, he said, "You know what? This is free if you'll send me a photo autographed." So we got a free dinner for 6 at the Rendezvous Rib Room, these delicious dry rubs, for just going in there and being nice and being a band and having pleasant interactions with human beings. And we sent them a photo and an autographed CD as soon as we got back home to Boston. It was really, really sweet. And you never forget little things like that when you're on the road. And those things lift your heart if you're feeling a little tired and worn out by all the travel, too. So it was a great thing. He also gave us a big bag full of their famous barbecue popcorn, which you have not had. If you have not had the Rendezvous barbecue popcorn, I would highly recommend it. Also a bunch of dry rub for our own cooking in the future. So, really nice experience. Now, if you're being fed by the venues where you play, often this will be a merciless situation. Or at least you're at the mercy of others, and it can be merciless. The chances of you being able to specify what you eat are pretty unlikely unless you're a fairly significantly sized national act and you can specify all of that in your rider. And sometimes when you specify that in your rider, because I've been in that position a number of times, they're going to ignore your rider anyway, and you're going to have to make do with what you get there. Typically what happens in a case like that is your choices of cuisine are relatively limited. Instead of having a choice of the full menu, a lot of venues will make you eat off the sandwich menu, or they'll have a special menu called the musician's menu, which sometimes will even have cold cuts on it, which frankly, if you're eating at a restaurant which is making good prepared food, is pretty insulting. And if you own a restaurant and you offer cold cut plates to your band and you feed everybody else from the regular menu, I suggest you stop right the hell now, because it's baloney. Anyway, in that case, if you're eating off, but if you are eating off the sandwich side of the menu, it's always going to include fries. So with a little luck, you can negotiate to have your sandwiches prepared in the best manner possible. If you're getting a fish sandwich and it's fried, ask if they can actually just grill it or blacken it. If you're getting a burger, skip the bun. You don't need all the carbs. You're going to have a beer maybe or something anyway. You get your carbs from that. Maybe ask for 2 patties so you can have just a nice protein thing. And all that stuff will help your body run much more efficiently. Always ask to replace the fries. Fries are an unavoidable thing on the road anyway. So you're going to have some fries at some point, most likely. And yeah, they're delicious, but if you eat fries for a couple of days in a row, it's going to have serious repercussions on your gut. So see if you can swap the fries out for some grilled or steamed veggies, or maybe a little salad or something. You know, try to make the place work with you and be flexible with the menu. And it'll make everybody's life a lot easier later, especially in the van and especially in stopping along the road. There's one more rule that I learned, among many rules that I learned from the great bluesman R.L. Burnside, who was one of my mentors. R.L. said, if you offer somebody, you should always take it. If you don't like it, you can throw it away later or give it to somebody else. I prefer to give it away to somebody else thing. So if you're offered an extra burger at the end of the night, it's also a gesture of kindness. You know, acknowledging other people's gestures of kindness by accepting them is part of the beauty of being a human being, and I think it's something we should always do. But if somebody offers you like a beverage to take on the road, a soda or something, or a 6-pack of beer to tuck back in the car for the hotel room, or another sandwich or whatever, just say yes. There's probably somebody else in the band who will want it. You might encounter somebody. I've actually given a sandwich and fries to a homeless guy. We were playing at this gig in New York, and he's like, "You want any more food?" And I'll take a fish sandwich and some fries if that's cool, because I thought I might eat them. And I walked out, and there was a man kind of right in the front of the place, kind of sitting on the sidewalk on the side, looking a little tired and haggard, and looking like he could use to cheer me up. And I said, "Hey man, are you hungry?" And he said, "Yes, I'm hungry." And I just handed him the bag, So he got this really great, fresh blackened fish sandwich with an order of French fries. So, be generous with yourself, be generous with your friends, and if they offer you a t-shirt, take that too, man, because again, it's a gesture of kindness. For places where you do get a deli tray, sometimes you get food and a deli tray, if you're a headliner, or if you're a middler or something, or you just get a deli tray. If there's stuff left on that deli tray and you have a way of transporting it, maybe a cooler or a bag, or it's going to stay fresh for at least a few hours, take that too. You might want to snack it an hour back at the hotel room or on the road, especially cheese. Cheese keeps really well, If there's any bottles of water left, take those. If there's any bottles of beer left, take those. You might not want it right now, but believe me, you're going to want that beer and especially that water later on. The rule of one of the rules of being on the road is to not leave anything behind except good vibes. All right? All right. Hey, so that's me, Ted Drozdowski, Senior Editor of Premier Guitar. This has been another version of Road Dog. And food is on my brain because we just got done with Thanksgiving, and I really enjoyed my holiday. I hope you all enjoyed yours too. Keep on playing and tune in again for Road Dog. If you guys have had any weird experiences with food or good experiences with food or recommendations of great places for musicians to eat on the road, post them after this, will you? I'd be really curious to see what they are. Stay cool, hang loose, enjoy. Take care, y'all.